Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Mind and Muse Crafts podcast. I am your host Caroline, and once again I am recording from my home in Puerto Rico. I hope you enjoy. As normal, I am wearing crochet jewelry, and these are a design of my own that I shared with you a while back, and I think it's still on my blog. My blog had been down for a while because remember that I am not working this semester, so I was trying to tighten my budget, so to say, and I hadn't paid what you need to pay to keep your site active, and so they took down my site for a while. There people contacted me, and I was able to find a plan that suits me at the moment, but I really don't know how long those things are going to be up there. If you are interested in ever trying any of them out, I would download them. I have always put everything in PDFs because I am very unknowledgeable and ignorant in the business realm, and therefore I didn't really know that putting up PDFs was bad business for all the rest of the people that put up designs on their websites, because people then expect that anything free should be in a PDF. And I understand why that really should not be the case, but I'm just going to leave it at that. My site is up for a while, but I don't know how long it will be up, so if there's anything there that you're interested in, go check it out and download it while you can. Cool. So this was one of those. Also, this is another pattern that is free that was also brought to my attention a couple of days back, I guess, that maybe I should have done like some type of Instagram tutorial to kind of like get people in line with the festivities. And this is just an idea that occurred to me of a way that I could use socks as a decorative item. Of course, I have it here on a necklace. Excuse me for a moment. I need to check on a cake that's in the oven. Okay, checked my cake that was in the oven. I hadn't mentioned that I am traveled back to my home in Puerto Rico, and I have to make a cake for my brother-in-law who is visiting, and we're going to celebrate his birthday tomorrow. So these 5-minute timers are all about that, trying to get a lot of things done at the same time. Anyway, this is another pattern that is on the site, and it is for a miniature sock. Obviously, I have put it on a chain to wear as jewelry because that's what I do, that's my thing. But you could use it to make a bunting if you're into buntings, to make a garland to put around your tree if you have the time and the patience for that, and to make an ornament, just to, you do those tiny small trees and you could make an ornament and hang them on your tree. So both of those are on my site, and in the meanwhile, since we last saw each other, I know that at the last time we were together I was also sharing earring patterns, and I just wanted to mention that I did perfect my little, what would you call it, metal eardrop, the metal frame around which I wanted to crochet my teardrop. I did perfect it with a different method so that you don't really so that you don't need to see all of the actual wire wrap. This is a lot. It only has one wrap, so I think it would look much better if I were to crochet around it. Here's one that I do remember, Lapis Lazuli, which is one of my favorite gems. I really love the bright blue of it. I think that's fantastic. So I've got 2 new pairs also of, and maybe even more, of these teardrops with gemstones. And I still didn't remember the name of these gemstones. I also made a bracelet, but I think I left the bracelet at Elizabeth's house when we visited for the Thanksgiving holiday. So I've been using up some of my stash. I think that's even a more impossible gesture than using my crochet stash. The yarn stash, the jewelry stash is quite difficult to use up. But anyway, that's me trying. That's me trying. So while we were away, I did make some new things. I was at Elizabeth's house for Thanksgiving, and so that was 10 days ago. I traveled there, and while I was there, I took one project, which was the mushroom bag project that I shared with you last time, and I started a new project, which was kind of like a velvety sweater. I have to check my cake again, sorry. So I'm going to have all these chunks of video to put together to try and form this episode, today's episode, but there were just a lot of things to do, and baking the cake is, kind of specific. If you take it out too soon, the crusty part on the outside may seem baked, but the inside is still liquid, and it's going to be a mess when you try. So it'll be on for a little while more. We will be interrupted again, but I will try to advance in our discussion. So I was talking about a velvety sweater that I started at Elizabeth's house. No design, just looking at a sweater that she had over there, that I had purchased one for her and one for me, and I'd always liked the style. But I learned a lot of things from the project, but I just frogged it back before we came here because it just wasn't what I wanted. I didn't like the size of the hook that I was using, and I did not like the length. So I frogged it, but I learned some things from that were very useful for the projects that I had at home. So when I came back home, I was faster and quicker at what I was doing due to the experience that I gained with that project. So frogging isn't always a bad thing, and we learn from our mistakes, and we learn several ways not to do things, as well as right ways to do things. And so that's always good. So I brought that back with me, even though I did not bring back the sweater. But one of the things that I did not bring back with me either, but I did complete it, I don't have with me now, because I was putting together a box of things that I wanted to send my son, some gifts for the baby, and something for each of them. And they have a very particular neighbor, and he's a little boy. I believe he's about maybe 5 or 6 years old, but he's very into garbage trash bags and garbage trucks. And so I was shopping around, and I saw a book that it was called, what was it called? It was something about what my garbage truck does for me. It was just a very short, a small book that would teach children why the whole system of collecting trash is important. And so I purchased that, but then he has a little sister, and I said, well, I really don't want to send something to him and not send something to the little sister. So I decided that I could crochet, and what I decided to crochet was a small octopus that, if you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen a little reel that I created I'm very much into the reels that were like the flip books that we used to make when we were all kids, where you draw repeatedly the same drawing over and over again, changing one small thing, and then when you flip through it, it actually looks like movement is taking place. Well, some of the reels that are put on Instagram, Elizabeth taught me, that are made in a similar way, that you have a base photo and you change little things in that photo, and then you put all those photos together and you create a reel. Now obviously I don't have enough patience to take all of the many photos that you should take, upload to the reel, reduce the time to 1 or 2 seconds, and then collect all 20 or 30 photos. But I did it with a couple of photos because I thought it was fun, and it kind of was able to show that the octopus was moving. If I can, I will include it here. I will also include a photo so that you can see what the octopus looked like. I tried looking for a pattern online, and there were a lot of video tutorials that made the octopus in similar ways. And I also thought, well, you know, what is it that I want? I want a head, and I want the little stubby legs. So a round head, that is not difficult to make. You know, everybody knows you have to increase and then decrease. And then the stubby legs, you all know that I was doing those long curly pieces for the wig that I worked up for Winnie for Halloween, and so I figured I could just use a smaller one of those wiggly things and make 8 of them and use those as the legs. And so that's what I did. So I didn't really follow a pattern because Elizabeth sent me a link to a pattern that she used, and I tried to follow it, but I had already begun my own thing. And so when I tried to connect the two ideas, it didn't look anything like the one that the designer had created, obviously because I didn't follow her pattern exactly. I just took off with her pattern where I had begun mine. But I'll put all those links in the description box below if you are interested. And once you see this, I'm sure you will think of somebody who could receive this. It's an octopus, like I said, with stubby legs, and I put a beret on it because I like the idea of an octopus with a beret. I even called her Octavia because I have to give my things name. And Octavia had a beret, and Octavia had embroidered eyes. Because I was at Elizabeth's house and I had already done the head and the stubby legs, and when you do that, you will already have stuffed. When she showed me that she had those little tiny eyes, but I thought, you know, maybe I could find a video for crocheting doll eyes, and that would work. And so that's what I did. Now, there's the sound again that I need to check my cake. I will be back in a couple of minutes. Okay, I promise no more interruption. The cake is done. And I'll show it to you so you can see who was the culprit of the cause of all the disruptions. It is just a simple pound cake that I use for birthday cakes that I whip it up really quick because I know the memory by heart already. And then after it cools, I will add a maybe almond flavored syrup, kind of sugar syrup on top, and then tomorrow I will frost it. But it had to be done today so I could put the syrup on top and it would absorb that syrup. Hold on. That was Octavia the octopus. I was talking about the eyes, and I did find many videos on YouTube that could help you learn how to embroider the eyes. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, I will put below a link to the video that I use, but I mean, there are a lot of them, and basically I looked through them, and a lot of them more or less follow similar steps. They're not exact, but this one worked out well for me. Well, both eyes are not identical, because it was the first time that I was doing this type of thing, but I thought it looked pretty good. It worried me a bit that the expression on the face might scare the little girl, because she is quite an impressive little girl. But I asked my daughter-in-law, and she said that she thought it would be okay. So that was a finished object, complete, and it's boxed, and hopefully it will be shipped, and it'll be there by the time I get there. Now on to the projects that I was working on. You'll remember that I was working on actually I was following the pattern for all my words are escaping me today, a pot holder that I liked very much because it had mushrooms on it. And since the mushroom is one of Clarissa's favorite figures, I decided, well, I would make her a mushroom bag for Christmas. So I finished the mushroom, and I also finished the crochet that I need for the back. And I will show you. My idea was to take this insert that I have two here, and I found one at Clarissa's house when I went, and wrap it in crochet. So to speak, this is what I want to do. I want to put the insert inside. So I don't think it's long enough yet, because I want the back part is not long enough yet, because I don't really want to cover up the little like border that forms around the mushroom. So I want it to be there. So I'm missing some, right? I'll take it up to the top. And when that's finished, then I will create a piece that goes in here to cover up the sides, and I'll attach it, and I will insert the insert, a wool, this is a wool insert, inside of the purse. Let me see if it's right. Okay, so it's not wool, it's 100% polyester, and the findings are steel. I don't know where I got the idea that it was wool. Anyway, cross that out. It is not a wool finding, but it has those clips that she'll be able to put inside. So ultimately, I probably do not even have to add a closure to the bag, because the insert will close on its own, and I'm going to attach the crochet to the insert. Now, I don't want to make it too exact, because we all know that crochet stretches. So I'm only going to add a few more rows, just enough so that I can get that border onto the front. And then I will call it a day for that, and I'll work on the sides. It's going to have a D-ring here on the side, and another one over here, and that way I can attach a strap, a ready-made, or make a strap for it. Whatever. I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be okay. So maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe 6 rows more. And that will be okay. So hopefully I will be able to show you this finished object before I gift it. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. The other project that I was working on, and you'll remember, is a project, another Christmas gift, but for my older daughter, which is inspired by the spell book from Hocus Pocus Part 2, and it was in Part 1 too. But in the Hocus Pocus movies, they have a spell book, and my daughter is a fan of Hocus Pocus, so I was going to make her a crochet version of the spell book. So the last time I was talking to you, I believe that I had some of the pieces of the front done. Because the front part of it, I was making it in like pieces of different shapes, following this design that I had created on paper. And so I'm pretty sure I had these 4 done, or a couple of those done at least. I had the eye done. I had done the snakes, all with patterns that I found on the internet, the eye and the snakes. The pieces, well, I just tried to follow this, I crocheted until I kind of like was able to follow the shape that I had drawn on paper. And I think that those are all the pieces that I had at the time. So since I have joined them together to form the front, now this part forms the back, but this is the front. Almost, right? I will put up a picture here so that you can compare. You will see that I am missing a latch that goes over the eye, a metal latch, which is the latch that goes over the eye and to the bottom of the book. So it's kind of like what lets the book open and close. And I had a terrible time with this yarn. This was the cotton linen blend that Clarissa left behind. I believe it was called Chocolate Frogs because it was a Harry Potter inspired colorway. And but it was in a terrible mess. It was in a terrible mess. So I began by taking it out in sections. So I made up as large a ball as I could and cut it, used it, got another one. And so this is the last section. Will it be enough to complete the whole back of the book? I doubt, but I'm going to go as far as I can. I did buy like backup yarn. I could use something like that if I run out of the other yarn. So yes, I also bought on sale at Michael's. They had these sketchbooks, buy one and one free. So when I went to take the label off, that happened. But that was okay with me because I was going to cover it. It's just a sketchbook, blank sketchbook. And so the idea is that I'm going to purposely maybe put it on backwards so that I can hold it. No, anyway, we'll do it like this. The idea is that this will cover the front. This is the side, and then it will have it back. Now on the back, it is supposed to have another one of these snakes and another one of these snakes in the corner. The thing is missing the eye, but it has all the rest. I don't know if I will have time to do that. For now, I am going to finish it completely. My idea is to make it sort of like a bookmark so that I'll show you this way. So that this part over here would fold over into the front, and then I would crochet it together at the top. That way she could take it off of this notebook if she finished using the notebook, and she could put it on a new notebook if she wanted to, or, you know, whatever. I want it to be versatile in that sense because that's what I want. So at the back, once this whole piece is covered, the original book has like a hand. This is another pattern that I found. and wasn't able to execute very well because working with tiny stitches is the worst. So I'm going to say, oh, it was probably okay, but there are things I would have liked different so that it would look more like a hand. I don't know. Anyway, I was following the tutorial by Crafty is Cool is her username on Instagram. She has a company that is called Crafty is Cool. So craftyiscool.com, you can go and find, she sells patterns for amigurumi, but her amigurumis are real life. So they tend to have hands with 5 fingers, and they have the women, if she is doing a replica or a dedication to someone, they will have boobs and they will have a bumper, and you know, she does it all. She does a realistic version of the amigurumi. She really puts a lot of effort into it, and in addition to being a crocheter, she's a sewist, and she can sew all of her little costumes or outfits for the dolls. It's just very impressive. Even if you don't want to make amigurumi, I would go to her site, craftyiscool.com, and I would definitely take a look at everything she made. She's even made tiny flauts and clarinets and stuff like that. She did the Hamilton figures, if you were into that. She's got all of the Doctor Who, if you are a person who likes Doctor Who. Also, it's a fantastic Instagram account, YouTube channel, and site to visit because her work is just beautiful. Her work is just beautiful. Anyway, she has a video tutorial for making a hand, and I purposely ironed it. Even this yarn is a yarn she sells on her site, because on her site she sells yarn for amigurumi. She's got her own brand of yarn. Does this one have the, oh, this one has a, no, this one is not it. This is a Lion Brand Skein Tones. But I have one there that's hers. I have this one, but I don't know if I have the band there. So, well, I purposely ironed it because it's like, you know, it's supposed to be like a skeleton. So I didn't want it to be too fluffy and full of life. The idea is that it goes on the back as so. And so it kind of like holds the book in place back here. And then the latch that, well, not on this side. It's on this side, right? Because it's on this side, sorry. It would be on this side. This way, down to the back. And then here, it will connect with the latch that comes from the eye across. So it's still got a lot of work, and specifically doing all this half double crochet to cover up the back will take forever. But I got a good vibe from it. I think I am working well, and I think it is going to be a finished project very soon. So those are my projects for now. Those are my immediate projects, the ones that I am really trying to work on this week to see if I can get them as far as possible, because I will be traveling again to Alabama this weekend. And I will only be there for 2 weeks this time. I want to help out with Lucas, but my husband already bought tickets to spend Christmas with my daughter in Florida, so I cannot stay for long. In addition, my daughter-in-law works at a university, so she gets her vacation starts early in December, probably about the same time that I'll be traveling back. So it's going to be a short trip, but these are big projects and I can't take them with me. So I need to, you know, get them as far as possible in the days that I have left. So I've got a lot of plans. I've purchased a couple of tutorials from the Living Felt, which is also a site, a store, an online shop that I've spoken to you about because they sell all of the material needed to needle felt or wet felt. And I'm a fan, but I haven't practiced it in a while. They created a while back online courses for different, some of them are made for specific projects and others are made for specific skills. And so they were half price for the weekend of Thanksgiving. So I purchased one for making portraits and another one for creating, like, it's a painting of parrots, tumagas, what they're called, parrots. I need to get something for my husband for Christmas. And as I have said many times, we are at a stage where we have everything. So, like, you know, we don't need that much stuff anymore. So I make him things. Instead of buying him things he doesn't need, I make him things. He's a fan of painting and he collects paintings, so I'm going to try and make him a painting. I won't make it for Christmas, which is okay because we'll be in Florida for Christmas and I don't want to carry anything big and bulky. I don't know if you've been watching the news about these airlines, specifically Spirit and Frontier, where they were all over TikTok and Facebook because people were criticizing them for actually measuring your personal item. And Frontier's personal item box is smaller than Spirit's. But the thing about it is, it makes total sense because during the COVID, they were really laid back very flexible, very laid back with all of the rules and regulations. And so now they're trying to, get strict again. And one of the things that people became very abusive of were the personal item, because you don't pay for the personal item. And whereas you do pay for a carry-on, and it's very expensive, and you do pay for luggage, and that has gone up quite a bit also. So people started taking these huge personal items that that's not a personal item. That is a carry-on. It's full of clothes and full of stuff. I mean, I'm talking about huge things that people tried to pass as personal items. And so they just said, no, we're done with that. Those are not personal items, and you're going to put them in the bins, the overhead bins, and that just makes the boarding process so much slower. But people were very upset with them. So if you're traveling, beware. The airlines, the ones that have cheaper tickets are going to try and validate their regulations for carry-on and personal item sizes. And it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. If I pay for a carry-on, there should be room in the overhead bin for my carry-on. I shouldn't have to send it underneath because I paid for it. Whereas if you have a personal item that you didn't pay for, it should not be in the overhead bin. It should be under the seat in front of you, like they tell you. Unless everybody is boarded and all the overhead bins that were going to be occupied were occupied. Because I know that not as many people are paying for carry-on because it is expensive. Even though it does get you to board first, to board before all of the other economy seats, it is expensive. I don't know how people still pay for carry-on, but some people just want to get off and they want to make a connecting flight and they have a little time, or whatever the reason is, the business people want to get off and go running. So I understand the issue, but it can be a pain when it surprises you. And it actually made boarding take longer because they were taking people out of the line, sending them to measure, and that person had to watch the line, make sure nobody else was going. So it was a mess. It wasn't easy flying this time, But hopefully people will get the idea that, look, personal item is a personal item, you know. In my personal item, I always carry an extra clothes change just in case I get stuck in one of my connections. That happened to Elizabeth and me before, and luckily we had our personal items, and if not, I don't know how we would have stayed a night at a hotel, taking baths, and be able to put on clean clothes to go to bed and use clean underwear the next day. I always carry that in my personal item. But I'm not carrying shoes. I'm not carrying anything that will make it heavy. That's why I don't want to carry my projects. So anyway, I will be going back to Alabama, and I will be taking a couple of planes to do so. So I'm going to travel lighter than normal. Remember that anything that I have talked about will be referenced in the description box below. That's so that you can find it. If you ever remember, oh, I'm doing this, I remember that Caroline talked about this in this episode. Well, it's helpful to be able to read that description and see if this is the episode you think it is. And yeah, hit the subscribe button if you are here for the first time, but think, oh, I'd like to see what else she does along the way. Hit the notification bell. I would tell you, although for me it has not been working, I have not been getting notified of the people that I follow, the podcast that I follow on YouTube, so I don't know what's the deal with that, but share it with a friend if you want to. Copy the link and send, hey, here's a podcast that you might want to watch. Oh, look at this beautiful things that somebody is making with crochet, and help us all to get more views for the holidays. So until we meet again, keep yourself safe, keep yourself happy, keep crafting. Bye for now.